Good evening. A lot of things in the news today, a lot of money talk, especially. NASA has completely changed their Artemis profile. And as a part of that, Starship might not fly that first thing with Artemis 3. Illyria, we're going to figure out who they are. They raised a $1.3 billion valuation. That's huge. Intuitive Machines raised 175 million. ESA announces a 100 million euro convergence initiative. Nord Space has launched Nord Space Ventures. We're going to talk about that a little bit. AST Space Mobile gets a $30 million contract for a military broadband demo. Applied is invested in deorbit systems. ESA signs a deal with Venturi Space for a lunar rover study. And we're going to do a deep dive in the huge OpenAI funding round just for comparisons. All that, plus our guest, Rich Godwin. From the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, my name is Thomas Andrew Olson, and this is The Unknown Quantity. As you know, this program is brought to you by the Center for Space Commerce and Finance. And what do? We champion and strengthen emerging space startups and space-adjacent enterprises worldwide. Our pitch events and world-class boot camps fortify startups to be better investor-ready. A lot of our work, especially this podcast, is supported by listeners and fans like you. Remember, the Center is a 501c3 nonprofit, so just go to our website, cscf.space/support, click that donate button, and drop something in the tip jar. In addition, if you like this show, you support this show, tell your friends. Every new subscriber helps. Thanks so much. And now, here's my oldest space friend, Michael Lane, who just got in from his group meeting, spinning the wheel of Chamaru. Michael, come on in.
Howdy. How's things?
Good. We're back.
We're back. What's going on?
What's going on with me? Oh, God. Well, I've still got a house guest. And that's a lot of fun. He brought his guitar, so we've actually been making our fingers bleed. It's nice. A lot of fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that for your birthday? Happy birthday this week, by the way.
Oh, thanks. It was the 27th. So yeah.
I haven't seen you since then. So
yep.
Happy birthday. Yep.
Thanks. Right. It was a fun time. It was a good time. My best buddy, for like 48 years is here. Yeah. So it's we had a lot to catch up on.
Awesome. Very good.
He's taking a winter break from Ohio. He lives up there. They've just been battered by stuff.
Oh, right.
This is the first time I felt warm in weeks and weeks. Good times.
Very good. Cool.
Okay.
Let's get to it. What do we got?
Where are we at? Oh, my God.
No, what do we got?
What do we got? Oh, you want to just skip? It's fine with me. That's great. Well, here's the big news. It's all over the place. Everywhere I go in my list, this is the thing is just going on and on and on. NASA has completely revamped everything about the next Artemis flight.
Right.
And now it's just going to be an orbital mission testing out stuff. And now they're saying Artemis 3, that is. Artemis 2 is going when it's going, whenever it's going. Artemis 3 will be next year. And it's just going to test out new systems in orbit, apparently, and then it's what the ambition has been shifted to 2028 when they say we're going to fly 2 Artemis missions. One we were expecting, the other we were not expecting. So there goes another $4 billion, and they're both going to land on the moon. They're both going to land on the moon, and so. So I guess Artemis 3, they're not just going to, just test systems in orbit. They hopefully, if the 2 the test lunar landers are ready, they want to test those in orbit alongside them. but which is fine. But then the next article pops up. It says a Starship might not be in that mix.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what's going on, and it raises a question in my head, which I'm going to bring up later when our guest comes on, because I want to get his take on it as well as yours. Sure. It's going to be we have to be controversial on this show once in a while, so I'm saving it for everybody. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
I'm interested. I think this is going to be a really interesting decision. The ripple effects are going to be awesome. So we'll see how. I have some more to say, but we'll wait until
good. Because that's going to be a great lead-off conversation. And then we're going to go through, with all the stuff that our guest has been doing lately, which is amazing stuff. Now, have you heard of this country called Illyria?
Yeah. So, I've heard the name, and I'm just going to read directly from the article because it tells more, right?
Yep.
Illyria, spun out of Google's parent Alphabet 4 years ago, says its space-time platform can coordinate those links in real time, communication links in real time. I really don't know that much about it. Google has been running their moonshot program for years. The GLXP, Google Lunar X Prize, came out of it. Some of their Google Earth stuff and Google Moon stuff came out of it. So they've been running space-related stuff for, I don't know, nearly 20 years. Rumor has it they had a Earth elevator, space elevator that was evaluated through their moonshot program. But yeah, I don't know what this is. This is news to me. We were watching their Loon program, their internet via high altitude balloons program a long time ago. That got shut down because it was kind of impractical. But no, this thing is new to me. I don't know anything about this, Illyria.
Yeah.
100 million funding on February 3rd that values the California venture at $1.3 billion.
Yeah, that's just okay.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Good for you guys.
Great. Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Deployment of laser terminals and software for dynamically routing data across space, air, and ground networks.
Yeah.
So, it's another router company. Cool. Good. The world needs more of those, I'm sure. But yeah, it's kind of wild to have, billion-dollar organizations just, grow fully formed from the head of Zeus. Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, I get it. Compare that, though, with Intuitive Machines.
Yeah.
Now, we know what they do, and they do a lot of stuff. And they've raised another $175 million in a stock sale.
Love those guys. Love everything about them.
Yep. They sold shares to a group led by unnamed global institutional investors. Okay. And the transaction closed on my birthday. Well, they didn't send me any shares. I should have gotten a present. Come on.
Right.
They use the new capital to support revenue expansion and investment in technologies to advance communications and data processing networks. And so, and we'll use the capabilities of Lanteris, formerly Maxar. These guys just can't keep their names straight. But Intuitive Machines acquired them in an $800 million deal announced in November. Maybe that's why they had to raise the 175.
Right.
But communication services for missions on and around the moon. And they already have but then, this is why. They have a NASA contract to provide those services, which is worth $4.8 billion over 10 years.
Good on them.
Wow.
Yeah. They are trying to transition from, when they started, and their ticker symbol is LUNR. When they started, they were a lunar transportation system.
Yep.
Period.
Yep.
Start to finish. That's what they do. That's what they came for. Right. And now they're transitioning into, almost a baby prime, right? They're like, well, if y'all want to do it, meaning if y'all, America, NASA, NOAA, Department of Defense, Department of War, if y'all want to go to space, we're going to help you, right? Just bread and butter, soup to nuts. We want to be in the mix for those really big contracts. It's an interesting company. Reddit had a lot to say about this, so if anybody wants to go follow some of the articles in Reddit, they're pretty interesting. But they're doing well. Like they've got money in the bank, and contracts. Their stock dipped a little bit. Again, we're not giving advice in stocks, but people are buying it right now because it fell a little on this news, and they're thinking that's stupid. We should have more.
Yep.
So
I get it. Jason's here tonight. He's saying pivot, 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 pivot. That's kind of what they're doing, and just keep racking up some more revenue and other things while you're pivoting, I guess. But I just want to say hi here. Jason's here. Veronica Ann is here. Morty's here.
Hey, y'all.
And probably a bunch of other folks that don't identify themselves. Hi to you.
Thanks.
Welcome.
Thanks, everybody, for being here.
Yep.
That acquisition and that M&A stuff, I mean, it's really real. We've seen it with Voyager has done it. Redwire has done it. There's a lot of small companies with really interesting capabilities. So a lot of these folks are coming out. That's what the Lanteris, used to be Maxar, acquisition was, right? It's not just about getting a technology. It's also about getting a hiring spree. And it's a hell of a lot easier to pick up, 4 or 8 or a dozen or 25 engineers all at once, because this industry is starting to get really complicated to hire in. It might take months to get to hire somebody, but if you have the spare cash and you've got the ability, it's pretty easy to just go in and buy a ready-made company that already has contracts and revenue.
Yeah.
So
Sean was right when he said M&A is a strategic exit or a strategic hedge. He's got a point about that, and I would just add to that M&A is also one of the more popular exits that we see and have seen over years and years in this industry. So, although IPO seems to be poised to making a strong comeback this year.
We'll see. I have less. I know that it's happening. IPOs are definitely happening, and SPACs are back, according to you and Sean. I have less confidence in the IPO route. I do, and we're going to talk about that towards the end of our news stuff.
Yep.
But it's fascinating.
Yep. Absolutely. So what else we got? ESA announced 100 million euros in funding yesterday for projects promising to accelerate the convergence of satellite and terrestrial communications. And there's probably a lot built in that. It's not real sexy, but it's satellite's a big industry. I'll be going to that conference about 3 weeks from yesterday. And and so I'll probably hear a lot more about that while I'm there, I'm sure. And so that's huge. And they're coming in. Oh, Dallas is here. Hey, Dallas. He says, what about the Reflect Orbital story in today's Washington Post Health and Science section? Think Kraft Eric's Luneta Soletta. That's going back. You got to be a real history space nerd to remember that one. I haven't seen the Reflect Orbital story this morning on Washington Post Health and Science, but I kind of get the gist of what you're talking about. They wanted I presume they want to put in a some sort of a soletta type thing to reflect sunlight away from the Earth and cool it off.
I've not heard about
Nope.
that. I mean, we've talked about reflect orbital a couple times. Yeah, I'll look it up. We'll maybe have something to say about them on Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, right. Michael is stunned. Like, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah.
I'll own it. Yeah.
And so, but here's a fun one. I saw this big announcement. I've seen it a few days ago. Nord Space has launched something called Nord Space Ventures. And they've already made a strategic investment in Wyvern to accelerate Canadian sovereign space capability. So this is something that's starting to pick up all around, because ESO wants more independent capability, and now Canada's going in there and say, yeah, we want to do some sovereignty related stuff as well. And Raoul Gols actually said North Space Ventures exists because Canadian sovereignty requires Canadian capital. We're not just building rockets, we're building ecosystems that will ensure Canada controls its own future in space.
Love that.
I'm looking through this. I'm trying to figure out what kind of money they're bringing to bear. And they're talking about Wyvern. They're talking about Nord Space. I'm not seeing.
Yeah, it's not in there.
Yeah,
they're not. They don't.
That's what I thought. I didn't miss it. There's just it should be, because usually you start a fund, you seed it with something. Right. And especially, I know the rules in this country. If you start a fund, you have to seed it with your own capital. So,
right.
There's a lot of ways we can define that, of course, but even so.
So I've lived in Canada twice for a year. Twice, 2 times for a year each. Once in Montreal and once in Vancouver. And I tried starting a fund in 2010 in Canada. And what everybody told me back then was, that's insane. Only happens in America. Forget that. But they also said, we don't invest the way y'all do. Like, we don't have our own NASDAQ. We don't have our own Silicon Valley. What we have is, we're really into commodities futures, wheat and cattle from the Great Plains, timber and lumber and oil. And they're like, you guys, you Yanks with your crazy ideas, forget that. We're not going to do that. So they utterly shut me down in Canada, in Vancouver in 2010. So it's a little refreshing to see this come out and say, oh no, actually, that's a really good idea.
Oh, and maybe those Yanks aren't so crazy after all.
Maybe those Yanks aren't quite so crazy.
Yeah, because they built a $630 billion industry out of it. But okay. Yeah.
Hey, Wes, thanks for coming. I hope you're still here. He's switching over to the LinkedIn feed, so I don't know if that means you're dropping off of our channel, but nice to see you, buddy.
But yeah, we're getting a lot of folks tonight. Yes, the other night we didn't really have too many people, and now it's like everybody's flooding in. So this is great.
Love to see it. Love to see it.
Okay, more money. AST Space Mobile won a $30 million contract for a military broadband demo. They wanted to see if it's so we're back to this, and Walt would have a field day with this. They're demonstrating a space-based cellular broadband network to see if that can connect directly with military communications devices. Okay, this is more cell tower in the sky stuff.
Yep.
Okay. Yep. And but I guess if you're doing it for military targets, the military will just keep paying you, and you don't have to worry about whether the commercial aspects of it. We've done the studies on commercial cell tower in the sky, and it's never panned out. It's never you just don't make enough to make it worth getting up in the morning.
Well, you say that, but then SpaceX's Starlink is looking to connect, quote, hundreds of millions of not 5G but 4G phones in remote areas. And then this contract for AST, I mean, I swear to God, this has got to be a direct result of Starlink turning off the Russian dishes, 2 weeks ago, right? The SpaceX has their own military grade system. It's called Starguard. And I don't think folks want to be dependent on SpaceX for that. So I bet you, I think it's just the opposite, Tom. I think you're going to see more and more contracts.
We may see them, but that's what I'm saying is those contracts are for people. They're not for consumer or cellular customers. They're for people like the military who can afford to keep throwing money at them to do that, whether it's actually makes economic sense or not. And of course, governments do that all the time and have for decades. So that's all I was saying about that. But as a commercial service, cell tower, we tried to talk to the Saudis to try to build something for Avialto over there, and all they wanted was cell tower in the sky. And we did the numbers. This is not going to pay you. We're doing Wi-Fi, broadband, and mobile backhaul. That will pay you. But just a little cell thing, that's not going to pay you very much. It's not going to be sustainable for you. And so it's not worth it to us to do either. But who knows? I mean, but for big guys like that, want to pay somebody to do that for them, and they don't care if they make money or not. They just want the contract and bring in the cash. Okay, sure, that model can work. Absolutely.
Well, and AST as a publicly traded company needs to swing for those fences, right? They have a different kind of shareholder requirement, so they have to go after that stuff.
Right. Just very quickly before we go to our guest, Applied Aerospace and Defense announced its acquisition of Vestigio Aerospace, known for its innovative product line of Spinnaker deorbit systems. And that's a kind of a cool image to show how that works. It's a different kind of model than our guest the other night showed us. Yeah. But I'm glad to see some competition in this space, and they're taking space junk and deorbiting very seriously, and I am always in favor of this. I want to see more of this.
Yeah.
And of course, ESA then signed a contract with Vingeri Space to do yet another study related to future lunar rover technologies. That's like the third contract I've seen with ESA and other places to do lunar rover studies just in the last week or two. So, which was kind of cool. They don't mention did they mention a number? I'm looking at this. This is dated the 24th. That's awful.
It's a pretty badass picture. I mean, I gotta say, I'm kind of digging the rovers.
Yep, literally.
That looks like a grown up car like that. I was pretty surprised by that.
Absolutely, but I've not seen him mention a number. So okay. Here's I think this is it. Yeah, this is it. The next one, this final one. Just before we go to our guest, we got 2 minutes. You brought this up, Michael, so you can take the lead on this. These are the eye-popping charts, put OpenAI's record funding round in perspective, and I think that's important for our industry as well.
Yeah. Here we are. We love our sector. We're so happy. We're over $600 billion a year in revenues. We're like, look at us. We're pretty neat. We're changing the future. And in one transaction on Friday, OpenAI pulls in $110 billion. $110 billion. Here we are, Tom and Sean are kind of like tracking all the articles that we post on this show, and we're keeping kind of a running tally. And it's several billion dollars so far this year, and we're pretty happy about that. But OpenAI pulled in $110 billion in a single transaction.
Well, that first chart is actually rather that bar chart showing the largest U.S. venture capital deals ever. $1
Right.
There's like 9 of them. 3 of them are OpenAI.
Right. Yeah. And one's Anthropic.
And one's Anthropic.
Right. It's like, two of them are Anthropic.
Yeah.
3 of them are OpenAI, and one of them is XAI.
Yep.
The biggest venture capital deals ever.
Uh-huh.
It's like, it's hard to imagine. And then you scroll down to the largest IPOs of all time, Saudi Aramco, 25 billion. So the biggest IPO, and this is what I was talking about a minute ago. It's like, I don't know sure if I have the same confidence in IPOs that you do. General Motors is on this list at $15 billion. Visa is on this list at $17 billion. SoftBank at $21 billion. And Saudi Aramco at 25. So when it finally gets to the public market, this one transaction is 4 times bigger than the biggest IPO of all time.
Right.
That blows my mind. So where does that leave us in the crossroads of space and money? I don't really know, but this definitely makes me wonder if I had always assumed that we would go public. I mean, I've been assuming that for a long time. Not my favorite idea, but I don't know if I ever have to, given these numbers. Right. I wonder if I ever have to.
Exactly.
Yeah, wild implications.
Yeah, and I'm not as sanguine on IPOs as you think I am. I don't know where you got that idea. When I do the boot camps, and I always do the section on exit strategies, and I tell them, compared to the other ones, IPO is like one of the worst ones you can do. It's just gonna suck the life out of you. And
so hard,
and you have to like making reports where young Turks at Goldman Sachs are going to be cursing your name. They're 25-year-olds cursing your name and your parentage and the company you spent years building. You got to put up with that shit every 3 months on the call. Yeah. And it's like, who wants to do that if you don't have to?
I mean, I'm not trying to sit in here and compare, Avialto or Liftport to OpenAI. We don't have 800 million customers that use our system every month. So, we don't have to worry about that comparison just yet. No. But I do wonder, like, what our future looks like if this is the kind of valuation you can get.
Right. Okay. Yeah. On that, let's get to our guest. Our guest tonight is Rich Godwin, who's returning with us. Always a great guy to come in. He's, of course, the head of Space Tech Holdings. He's got a lot of new stuff going on. Rich, come on in, man.
Hello, chaps.
There he is. Okay. So I want to get this. I don't want to get to you because I have a thing I want to talk about. All the NASA restructuring of the Artemis flights and everything they're doing over there. How much of this is Jared Isaacman? Because my question is this. It's either one way or the other way. Is it time, after all this screwing around, is it time to unleash Jared Isaacman? Or conversely, is this what unleashing Jared Isaacman actually looks like?
I think after watching his certification, when he was nominated, the hearings, he's between a rock and a hard place. He's got a job to do. He's got a deliverable. He's got a goal. He's got a mission. But then he's got all the leash, if you like, of the politics. And the fact is that it doesn't matter what the president might say is the goal of the National Space Program. You've still got all those guys in the districts, and the congressmen and the senators are all saying, hey, don't forget, we have a say in this, and I want money coming to my district, whether it's Marshall or whether it's Utah or whatever. And so he's still stuck with that heritage welfare state, if you like. And I don't think he's got much movement there. He's going to have to do a really tight balancing act. But I think after seeing what happened with commercial cargo and commercial crew, everybody knows that commercial works if it's real commercial. I'm not talking about cost plus. I'm talking about fixed price. I don't know if the heritage companies can deal with fixed price. I mean, you look at what's been going on, it's like, I don't know if these guys can do it. It's not their way of doing things. So I don't think for much longer they'll be taking fixed price contracts or, cost plus contracts.
Right.
Price.
Which is kind of interesting because there was an article I read. I didn't include it tonight. It was someone was advocating that some of the contracts that have already been signed by Musk could be taken away from them and given to ULA. Now that was stated by ULA's new chief lobbyist. Ready for this? Ready for this though? Jim Bridenstine.
Okay.
Yep.
Jim's the new advertiser for ULA.
Jim is the new rep for ULA. Yeah. I was pretty surprised.
I like Jim. Yeah. I've met Jim many times. I really like Jim. I thought he did a great job as NASA administrator. I've since met him a few times. He's been always very candid, I think, in what he thought was possible. It wasn't just towing the party line. He looked at the possibilities of how to do things. ULA, gosh, I heard just last month or a couple of months ago that Rocket Lab might consider buying ULA. I was like, okay, I don't know how that would work out, but
well, they might be more efficient. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they buy it for the contracts, the DoD contracts.
That could be.
I thought Bezos might have bought them, but then it was like, that seemed to make some sense. But then I think there's too much baggage.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like what are you buying? If you buy ULA, what are you buying? You're buying a lot of factories and stuff in like places like Decatur, and you've got a lot of union contracts there. Is that viable still?
Mm-hmm. So let's move on to you, but I wanted just one more thing about Artemis. They've done all this revamping of Artemis. They're going to do Artemis 2 is going in a month or maybe, and then Artemis 3 goes next year.
In a month or maybe once they get it down.
Right, but then they're going to do supposedly 2 Artemis 4 and Artemis 5 in a single year. So are we looking at something that actually makes more viable sense, or are we going to think we're going to see more pushback?
Well, I always look at this in terms of, it's always crazy to see the reason we're doing this in Congress is because we've got to beat Chinese to the moon. We already did that almost 60 years ago. We already beat the Chinese to the moon. It's a question now is who gets to grab the high ground or, take place, set the rules, if you like.
Yeah.
And I think what Jared looks at is I think he's going to do a great job. I really do. He's looking at what we did before that was right. And we did Apollo 9. That made a huge amount of sense to, wring out all the bugs and stuff out of the system, out of the LEM system. Okay, by the time that LEM flew, the Eagle was not ready. We didn't have a lunar module that was lightweight enough to handle the landing. So either that or Apollo 10. So, being a history buff on that stuff, I think the idea of doing a full-up rehearsal close to home, where and I'm not sure what else are they going to do. Refueling on orbit? Okay, great, that'd be fantastic. Are they going to fly Blue Origin? Are they going to dock with SpaceX HLS and with Blue Origin? Mix and match. What's it going to do? I'm sure it's pretty exciting.
And Dallas just said in the article he read, NASA will be increasing SLH launch frequency to 1 every 10 months at a minimum of $4 billion a pop.
That's a lot of money.
How sustainable is that? Okay, you increase your launch frequency, but how far are you really going?
Well, they're going to keep running freight trains out west, and after everybody else is flying. And they're still going to be running freight trains, and people are going to be flying past them at 500 miles an hour, and they're still doing 30.
That is true. That is the absolute truth of every time. And the government has been involved in transportation systems almost since its founding, and then hung on to them too long. It started with the Erie Canal, and they were still running that thing and paying for it long after they started building railroads.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing. It's gone on for 2 centuries plus. So it's I guess. They don't learn. I don't know.
It's a quandary. I think that I'd be really interested to see what Blue does. I would like to see their launch cadence go up. I think that that last flight of New Glenn was awesome. I mean, the way they stuck that booster landing was really something to watch.
Brilliant.
And nailed it right on the center of the barge target. I would like to see that, and obviously, I'm really interested to see what Starship does next. What Ship's going to do.
Hopefully, very soon. Let's get to you. I know you got some new stuff in the pipeline. You're doing some interesting things, and we'll get to Doug's statement question in a second. But I want to hear about you, Rich. What's going on?
So, Space Technology Holdings is motoring ahead. Our flagship company is Illuma Power up in Canada, and you were saying before, Michael, about how it's difficult to handle VC up there, and it is a different ecosystem than it is in the States. You'll find that valuations in the States are usually twice what they might be in Canada, so you still do have to come here a lot for the money. But we've had so much assistance from the Canadian government, the BDC bank, and our partners, Martin Rare, who's a $5 billion Toronto company and an OEM to Detroit. And I mean, these people have been so behind us right from the start. So we're getting to a point now where we are getting our first orders in from military and utility companies. We do have several hyperscalers, AI hyperscalers, who've been to our plant, seen our operation, very impressed, have said, okay, build as a prototype. So we are currently going to build that prototype.
You got to back up and tell our new listeners, because it's been a while since we've been on the show and our audience has grown. Give us a background a little bit. Well, who are you? What is Illuma Power? Because I know and Tom knows, but I want to make sure everybody else knows.
This is just a disc of plain old aluminum, or as I call it, aluminium. I could make a saucepan out of this, or beer cans, right? It's just a plain old disc. But that is our fuel. That aluminum holds more energy density than diesel. But you've got to know how to get that energy out, because you have to put so much energy to make aluminum in the first place, and it's still sitting in there. And you just have to be able to get it out and control how you get it out. And we've figured out how to do that. Aluminum air batteries have been around for a long time. Ours is now an aluminum galvanic generator. So those discs go into the generator. They are the fuel. It's not like they get recharged, they get consumed.
Right.
And what's left at the end is a thin sheet, kind of a little bit thicker than aluminum foil. But when it goes down to that, just before it starts to flap, because it's rotating, it tells us, we take that out, we put a new one in. It takes 60 seconds to refuel it. And so if you think about it, in the AI, we're talking about building backup power generation for AI centers, and that's a massive project. They use the grid. Obviously, grid is messy,
it fluctuates.
Grid's messy. You have lithium ion backup batteries, and you might have all sorts of other backups behind the lithium. We trickle charge the lithium, so the power, the raw power comes from the lithium, but the energy density comes from us into either the lithium or into supercapacitors, and we're able to provide power for as long as you put those discs in. And there's not many. I'll tell you, if you think about it, zero emissions, so no carbon.
Right.
What can you do off grid that's like that? You've got hydro. Good luck.
Good luck. If you're in Washington State, that's a good plan. But anywhere else,
got to dam a river or something like that.
Yep.
You've got nuclear. I love nukes, but you've got a lot of regulatory to deal with, even with the SMRs and the MMRs coming online. Geothermal, yay! When I love the whole idea of geothermal, but it's not ready unless you're in Greenland, Iceland. So hydrogen, good luck with that infrastructure. You can't contain it for any length of time. And then you've got us.
Yeah.
We can provide firm dispatchable energy for as long as you keep putting those discs in. And so, I don't want to say it's base load, but it's firm and it's dispatchable and it's available whenever you want it. So at high energy levels.
Brilliant.
So that is a game changer, I think. We've got a huge amount of interest in that. We're just going into our Series B in Q4 this year. So, really, really, really excited about that. And STH and ShareTech, our Canadian partners, were the two companies that started that company. So, yeah.
How
Okay,
much
so
do you know is? Oh, go ahead, John.
what's your first viable product that you're actually putting out right now using that system? Is it going to be something for a retrofit for an electric car, or what is it?
No, I don't think so. Not on the transport yet. I think we have to miniaturize everything. It's easier for us to build big at the moment.
Okay.
So we're building some fairly big systems, like in 20-foot containers.
Okay.
So a 20-foot container with this product in will generate just short of 60 kilowatts. Not huge for a 20-foot container, but when you consider a lot of the backup problems, even in Texas, when the grid goes down, if for whatever reason they bring on the diesel generators or the gas generators, and they're only allowed to run them for 15 minutes, but then they're past their emissions. Even in the state of Texas, so it's not like they'll just run those things for hours and days, whatever. So ours makes a lot of sense to, hey, you can run ours as long as you want, because there's no emission.
So it's something you can then put in let's say a shipping container, put it in the back of a truck, go out into the boonies with it, and use it as a generator, basically.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, eventually, will we be able to do it in cars? I absolutely believe so. I think we'll do possibly marine next. We've got a really good way of doing it for marine. Electric aviation, TBD. I think we have the energy density to do it, but we've got a ways to go with the cathodes and the electrolyte to be able to get to that. But I think we could provide long duration, enough power for electric long distance aircraft, not just little VTOLs take you downtown.
So what does that mean in specifics? Dallas asks good questions. How much energy is going to come out of one disk in your energy density equation, and how long will a typical disk last? And then what you're building now?
On a kilograms or watt hours per kilogram, that everybody always quotes, they go, watt hours per kilogram. They go, Elon will say, we got 2.76 kilowatts per kilogram. Yeah, that's cell. That's the cell. When you put the system on it, which is all the cooling and the wiring and everything, it's about 1.7, 1.8 watt hours per kilogram, right?
Okay.
Or watt hours per kilogram, yeah. With ours at cell, we're getting 2,300 watt hours per kilogram, right? 23 kilowatt hours per kilogram. I keep getting mixed up with that. So we're getting huge amount of energy density out of the aluminum. The issue becomes when you take it through the system and you've got the electrolyte, you've got the cathode, you've got the air, then it comes down to about 500 watt hours per kilogram. So that's still almost, more than 3 times what lithium ion is doing at its peak. Good. So, but here's the difference. If you look at our aluminum compared to, say, our aluminum air compared to, say, a lithium ion, it's the difference between energy density and energy per kilowatt hour or per kilogram and power. And the difference is, if you've got a glass of milk and you've got a gallon of milk, ours being the gallon of milk, with the glass of milk, you get power. You turn it upside down, boom, it's all gone. Power, pedal to the metal. Ours, you turn it upside down, it goes glug, 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 glug. A lot more energy, just takes longer, and so you don't have as much oomph on the power. The specific power we're working on, we're getting there, but it's still an issue that we have to process engineer out of it. So
yeah.
That is something.
So I guess we're pretty far away from nano-sizing it for CubeSats, as Veronica suggests.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was just talking to the guys at Intuitive at SpaceCom when you and I were there, Tom, and we're talking about this system. And Dallas asked the question, how long does the disk last? It lasts dependent on how thick the disk is. The thicker the disk, the longer it lasts. So, I mean, it's all down to the reaction, the amount of energy you get out is how many square centimeters you react in the electrolyte. So the bigger the disk, you get pi r squared. But also, if you want long duration, you just make a thick disc. I mean, this is a thin disc. This will last a day, right? A thick disc will we estimate will last up to 2 weeks.
Well, okay, I'm still a little bit lost on the that thin disc that you have that would last a day. How many kilowatt hours can you get out of it? Turn the jug upside down. Total energy. How much can you get out of that disc?
Like I said, about 500 watt hours per kilogram.
500. Well, how much does it weigh then? How much is that?
This weighs. God, does it weigh a kilogram? Yeah, this probably weighs a kilogram.
All right, so 500 watts. You can get 500 watts out of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a day.
For a day.
But you put multiple discs in. You run it multiple. You can run it like an old jukebox machine.
Yeah, you could do it in series and just.
And our new thin disc runs like 8 thin discs all together. So you're reacting a huge amount of surface area. So you are getting a lot of power out of that.
Yeah. Yep.
We're working on one which is like a big suitcase right now for the military, and that will put out in the size of a big suitcase. At the moment, it'll put out about 800 watts.
Jesus.
For quite a while. And it takes about 2 minutes to recharge it.
My God, that is a game changer if you can pull that off, miniaturize or make it like. Remember the old luggables we always carried around, the computers that were the size of a suitcase? A standard jarhead is kitted out with 15 pounds worth of electronics and batteries.
Yep.
Now that I never had when I was logging through the.
Well, that's one of the first items we looked at for the military, and we felt that probably, when you're a dismounted soldier, it depends if you're on foot or if you've got a Humvee with you or something like that. If you've got a Humvee, you might go out on a 12 to 24 hour recce or whatever.
Yeah.
And so your lithium ion that's on your belt or whatever is only going to last a maximum of 8 hours. And a lot of them, they had recharging. You either scavenge, recharge it. There's, you're in Afghanistan. Oh, plug into the grid. What grid?
Right. Yeah.
Or you can have a little blanket that unfolds and solar charges your lithium ion. So you're sitting out there for 8 hours in a hot zone, hoping that nobody spots you.
Yeah.
With this, we think we could get a backpack. We were designing a backpack for this for a single guy that would be rotating, and it would provide him with probably 48 hours of power, and then all he has to do to reload is just put a new disc in. Or we could put it in the back of the Humvee so that everybody can just plug in, charge the Humvee. It's quiet, there's no noise. There is a heat signature, but it's not like diesel or anything like that. It's quiet, and it's low temperature. So to put that in the back of a Humvee for dismounted soldiers just to plug back in, I think that'll be a major product for us at some point.
I love that. There's a couple questions in the audience before I get to that. Is the disc spinning? Do you wind up with it messing up your satellite, or is it just static and it just sits there?
We haven't had any RF problems with it at all. I mean, it's basically a self-contained unit. It has a lot of sensors on board, but we get all that sensor data back, and we usually tie it into the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, so you know exactly how much power is left in it, and when to change out the disk. But the thing you have to remember about the disk as well is that it's got indefinite shelf life.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a forward base in the Western Pacific, you can go and stick this out on a desert island somewhere and just stick it in the ground and leave it for however many years you need to leave it for. It's not going to gum up.
Right.
You just put it in and add the water and the electrolyte. And people might, well, what if you don't have water? Well, if you don't have water, you've got a worse problem than anything.
You have a different problem, right? We're not that's it. Yeah. Let's get into some of the questions. Of course, the engineers amongst us are asking questions. Bruce is asking something you've kind of already answered. Is it just pure aluminum? Can we use?
Good question.
Yeah.
Really good question. Thanks, Bruce. No, we use scrap metal. People think that scrap aluminum all gets recycled. No, it doesn't. There's 20 million tons of what's called twitch or zorba. It's actually called zorba, and then it gets turned into twitch. It's crap. It is full of iron, nickel, chromium, and it's dumped. 20 million tons is dumped into landfill every year. All those airplanes you see out in the desert in Arizona, they take the engines, they take the seats, they take the copper wiring. The wings and the fuselage are still there because they can't do anything with it. You can take that crap out of it and turn it back into aluminum, but it's not economic. Ours, we can take that, just grind it up, put it in, turn it into discs like that, run it through our system, get the electrons and the heat out, and then the slurry that's left, you can skim off the different types of potentially rare earths, as well as the aluminum trihydrate, which is recyclable back into aluminum. So it's a circular economy to the fuel.
Brilliant. And then Dallas, we already know the answer to that, but answer the question. Can they be used in space? Obviously, that's the $1 million question for this show.
As far as microgravity is concerned, TBD. On the lunar surface, absolutely. I think that I'm very bullish on the fact that we could get, with one set of discs, without having to change the discs, because there's nobody there to change out the discs, and we don't want to make it too heavy. I was talking to the guys at Intuitive a couple of weeks back, and I think we could get them through 2 lunar nights without needing nuclear power. So they run for 2 weeks. We turn on our system. It basically just keeps the system alive. You're not running it full tilt, but half the energy that's coming out of this is heat. So it's an exothermic reaction. So we're keeping the thing warm. Then you do another 2 weeks of sun up, another 2 weeks of night, another 2 weeks of sun up, and then you're done. I think we could do that in one system.
Okay. Yeah.
How much would that weigh? What's the mass of that system?
It depends on how much power you want out of it.
Okay.
Okay. So you're building something now, though. You're building something that you're putting into a shipping containers type size thing, and you're going to sell to somebody.
Big build out. If you go to our website, alumapower.com, you'll see our first build out on the front page.
Okay. Okay. I was going to ask you what the price point is. So you have something like your standard thing you're building now. It's fully loaded, ready to go. You're putting it on a truck. You're delivering it to presumably a job site somewhere out in Bum F Egypt, so wherever it is. And so
maybe
price out the gate, on the ground, up and running. What is it?
I mean, we're talking about a prototype right now, so it's not cheap at the moment, but at scale, we know we can get the capex down very well, because most of the system's going to be injection molded plastic, because you can't run our electrolytes inside most metals. It will dissolve them.
Sure.
So you put it in plastic. So that's not the expensive part. The fuel, think about this. Anybody else out there putting aluminum air batteries together is having to use like 6061 alloy. We use twitch. So our cost of our fuel is less than a quarter of their cost of fuel.
Okay.
So the OPEX is really, really low. I think at scale, we will eventually beat diesel and gasoline on a kilowatt hour per dollar basis. Yeah, we'll never beat the grid. We're never going to beat the grid, but we can beat gasoline and diesel.
Okay.
On price.
Veronica's got a cool comment here. There's enough stuff in Regolith's composition that we could. Is that true?
There's a lot more aluminum on the moon than there is helium-3. I'll tell you that.
Yep. Happy birthday, V. Hope you're well. Happy birthday the other day. Absolutely. I mean, there's a huge amount of aluminum in the lunar regolith. So yeah, you could make this. Yeah. Once you've got factories there to be able to put a lot of electricity into the aluminum, you could certainly strip off the oxygen. I'm presuming it's going to be aluminum oxide. Yeah. I can't quite remember. But that's the way you strip off the 2 oxygens and you're left with Al2. And that Al2 will not oxidize up there. It's in a vacuum. So it's straight away, straight into the system, and you just start pulling electrons out of it.
Super cool. Super cool. We're 5 minutes to the end of the show here. We usually do, what's happening in 5 years, what's happening in 25 years, pull out your crystal ball. But, is there anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up?
Basically, the other stuff we're doing, we've got an ag tech company, which we're just going to set our first plant up in Florida. We've had some amazing results. It was a product that's designed to grow food in space, moon, Mars, and beyond, but it works really well on this planet. We've been testing it in California. 40-50% yield increases, huge more root mass, more healthier plants. So we're really bullish on that one.
What's the crop?
Anything you want. We've tested it on avocados, berries, row crops. We're doing celery next, carrots. We've done blueberries, strawberries, raspberries, you name it. Potatoes, corn. We've done corn. So is it a replacement for potash? No, but what we've been able to do with this is we've been able to dial back NPK by up to 25%, which is where most of the runoff cost comes. And ours is just a spritz. And the other thing we found out about it, it seems, I've got to determine this and confirm it, that it stops at a little spritz on the soil. It stops outgassing of CO2 out of the soil for like 3 weeks. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
What's the word I'm looking for? It keeps it in the soil so it can be used in the plants as carbon instead of being emitted as carbon dioxide. It's a big deal. The other last one, we've got a radiation shielding company working on that. We're just doing a deal with the University of Florida to start making our beta materials. We did our alpha materials, put them through the beam line at Brookhaven last year. That came out really well. So we're now doing our beta materials. And then this agricultural tech stuff has a medical component to it. That's separate to STH, but we're working on that. And that is really, really exciting. A lot of stuff, a lot going on.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, we spend a lot of the time talking about aluminum power because that's kind of your flagship, but the other technologies are powerful and useful, and we should probably bring it back to talk about the other tech. What does your crystal ball look like? Usually we talk about 5 years and 25 years out, but honestly, tell me what you think about 2026. I mean, I don't know what's happening this year.
There's a video that went up yesterday on YouTube that was the top 15 technologies judged by MIT in 2026. And okay. I watched it and I thought, wow, we're into 3 of those. One is aluminum energy. Another right. is commercial space stations. And through Starbridge, we were the first VC into Axiom. And then there was another one, I can't remember what it was, but we're into 3 of those technologies that MIT just said these. And I think that AI, we always talk in AI. In Canada, we just say A. I think that it's going to be, it's how you use it. I think it's going to have very positive and some negative. A lot of white collar jobs are going to go. But I think if you're not using AI, get on it. And my preference is Claude at the moment. I use chat a lot. I use Gemini. I use Copilot. Claude is really very special. It's amazing. Yeah, it is.
Yep. Okay. All right.
Ready.
Last minute. What does 25 years look like? What are we looking at?
We've got a website through Starbridge called the Integrated Space Plan. I need to put that up sometime. I'll give it to you guys. We've done this complete look at what we think the space is going to be doing in the next 75 years and put it into silos to see, in all the different technologies. I think we're definitely going to be on the moon. I think the whole concept of AI on orbit, I get it. I think there's problems, or not problems, there are issues that are going to have to be addressed. One is radiation. Hey, got radiation shielding. Another one is heat transfer. Everyone thinks space is cold, so the heat will just go away. And no, You're still going to need liquids, and then backhaul, getting it down. Tom and I have spoken about that a lot. And we've had some ideas about how to get that backhaul down, and it's going to have to be optical. It's definitely going to have to be. It's not going to work with RF.
Right. It's not. It just isn't. We'll get there. We'll get there to a lot of places. And on that, Rich, we have to say goodbye. Well, we're going to bring it back again very soon. My God, serial entrepreneur, investor, Renaissance man. Oh, absolutely.
This was Saturday night.
Very cool. Okay. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in a minute.
Anytime, guys.
Okay, we have a guest lined up for Thursday, I think, but they haven't confirmed yet. So we'll get that notice out as soon as we do get a confirmation. Otherwise, there'll be lots and lots of news that we haven't been able to cover yet, and the general hearsay, innuendo, and general tomfoolery. Either way, it's going to be a good show on Thursday, and I hope you'll continue to join us. For Michael Lane and Sean Key at the news desk at the Center for Space Commerce and Finance, I remain Thomas Andrew Olson. Keep watching the skies.